I never believed a single moment could change the way you saw someone. That it could take years of certainty, of knowing who a person was, and in an instant shift it into something you couldn't name, couldn't touch, but also couldn't deny. Yet, that's exactly what happened. It was late afternoon when I pulled into the driveway of my grandfather's house. The old white porch sagged in the middle, the paint peeling just a little more than the last time I had visited. The air was thick with summer heat, cicadas buzzing in the background. And when I stepped inside, the familiar smell greeted me: aged leather, old books, and the faint scent of aftershave that always seemed to cling to him. It was his world. A world I'd grown up in, and yet suddenly it felt different. Grandpa, his name was Samuel Carter, though everyone in town just called him Sam, had asked me to help sort through a few boxes in the attic. He said it would be simple. Dusty letters, fading photographs, stacks of forgotten things. The kind of task you go through slowly, pausing now and then when you stumble on a memory. But the moment I stepped into the living room and saw him by the window, I knew this wasn't going to be simple at all. He looked up at me and smiled, not his usual broad grin, not the easy one he'd always had when I was little. This smile was smaller, quieter. His eyes held something else too, something I couldn't name right away. A weight. A tiredness. Maybe even something deeper. "You look like someone who's been running," he said, his voice low, steady. I laughed, trying to shake off the sudden strangeness of his words. "Maybe from myself," I muttered without thinking. His expression didn't change. He just studied me, eyes steady, like he had heard something in my words I hadn't meant to reveal. Like he saw through me in a way no one else ever tried to. And in that silence, something shifted, though I didn't want to admit it. The attic was warm and close, the kind of place where time itself felt thick. We moved carefully through the boxes, brushing away dust, uncovering pieces of the past. Every so often, his hand touched mine when we both reached for the same photo or letter. At first, I told myself it was nothing, just proximity, just coincidence. But the truth was harder to ignore. Every brush of his hand felt charged, like the air itself was holding its breath. I noticed things I hadn't before. The way the heat made his shirt cling slightly to his chest. The lines near his eyes that crinkled when he wasn't smiling. The stillness about him, quiet, steady, like an anchor I hadn't realized I'd been missing. I wasn't used to being seen like that. Fully. Without judgment. And I wasn't used to feeling it in return. At one point, I bent down to lift a heavy box, and his hand pressed lightly against the small of my back. Just to steady me. Just a reflex. But it burned through me like fire. "You've grown into something remarkable," Samuel said softly, not looking directly at me. The words fell into the silence between us, uninvited but undeniable. My breath caught. I didn't know how to respond. So, I didn't. I just sat back on my heels and looked at him. Really looked. And that's when I saw it. Not desire. Not lust. But something quieter. More dangerous. A longing. A recognition. A reflection of something I hadn't realized I was carrying too. We didn't speak after that. The attic dimmed as the sun slipped down, the golden light fading into shadow. The silence stretched between us like a fine thread, too fragile to pull, too heavy to ignore. It wasn't wrong. Not yet. But it wasn't innocent either. When we finally climbed down the attic stairs, the silence followed. He poured us each a glass of water and sat across from me at the kitchen table. I sipped slowly, aware of every movement, every sound. The hum of the fridge. The ticking of the clock. Everything louder than it should have been. Sometimes, he said quietly, we find ourselves seen in the places we least expect. And once we've been seen, it's hard to pretend otherwise. His words sank into me, deeper than I wanted them to. I looked at him again, really looked. And what I saw wasn't the grandfather who once tossed me into the lake or taught me how to ride a bike. What I saw was a man, lonely, steady, carrying something that mirrored the ache inside me. "I don't know what this is," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Neither do I," he admitted. His eyes didn't waver. "But I feel it. And I think you do, too." I couldn't answer. Saying yes would break something sacred. Saying nothing might let it live, untouched. I was caught between both, afraid of what either choice meant. My hand trembled as I reached for my glass. His fingers brushed mine as he did the same. Neither of us pulled away. That small touch, intentional and deliberate, loosened something inside me I hadn't known was there. "I'm not asking for anything," Samuel said, eyes steady on mine. "I just needed you to know you're not invisible." That struck harder than anything else. Because that was it. For the first time in so long, I felt seen. Not as a daughter. Not as a granddaughter. Not as a role someone expected me to play. Just me. Raw. Bare. Completely understood. When I finally stood to leave, I hesitated at the door. His hand reached out, not to hold, not to plead. Just an offering. My fingers rested against his for only a moment. Long enough to feel the weight of everything we weren't saying. Outside, the air pressed heavy against my skin. Fuller somehow, like it carried the echo of what had passed inside. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. Because I knew that moment would never leave me. And I knew he would still be sitting there, remembering it too. Quietly. Utterly. Forever.